Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Talking Nerdy podcast. I'm Aaron.
I'm Sam.
And
Are we supposed to pat our chest
Yeah,
when we introduce
to
ourselves?
identify
Okay.
ourselves to all of our watchers.
To prove that we do indeed have human bodies and are not just
Right.
disembodied voices.
There we go.
Oh, mine sounds a little hollow. Oh no!
What does that mean?
Don't worry about it. That's not the topic of today's podcast.
What is the day? What is our?
What is today?
I can't talk. What is today?
Today, I wanted us to talk about video games that we got really hyped for, but like as children,
Yeah.
that bring us nostalgia today. Because I have many, but I don't know. I have many games that give me nostalgia. Neither of us can talk today.
We both worked long weekends.
It's been a long day. I immediately forgot my train of thought. Thanks, Aaron. I was gonna say,
Well,
there are many video games that I really love and many video games that give me nostalgia, but none that, like, I sort of anticipated, like, coming into stores, or when I was in a store, I caught a glimpse of it and was like, oh my gosh, this looks amazing, you know? So I wanted us to talk about, like, how we wait for release days for games these days. I wanted us to talk about being small ones and our experience for that.
Yeah, I mean, here we are.
Like, compare and contrast, because it's very different.
It is, you know. We're here at the beginning of November. Always a huge video game release month, you know, and there's a lot
Many.
of stuff coming out. So, yeah,
Which
instead
sucks, because I'm like, I want to buy a video game, but then there's 3 that look really good, and I can't spend $60 on all of them.
I know, that's what I said until I came home the other day, and I was like, I did it. I bought Assassin's Creed and Red Dead Redemption, and I feel no shame.
And you threw it at me in a bit of rage.
It was a frustrating day, so I just went to the store, bought both of them. But yeah, so like as children, and that's kind of difficult because, like you said, it was very different for both of us. You know, I've mentioned several times that I had an Atari
Aaron's famous Atari.
for such a long time that I didn't care about new games, or I didn't have any way to play new games. You know, so when I think of like
You had friends, right?
Well, yeah. No, I would go over to friends' houses and play the original Xbox or the PS1 or the N64. Like, you know, and my cousins had a
maybe
Super
you can-
Nintendo.
Maybe
So
you can
like,
think about games for those that you got hyped
yeah.
for.
But I don't know, you know, which ones had come out at that time or ones were just that they had for a while. It was just like, they show up and they'd be like, I have these 3 games. And I'd be like, that one's got a car on it. Let's race. Like, you know. I don't
Fair
remember
enough.
what, you know, 20...
You don't have to remember, like,
I don't remember
seeing
what they were
commercials
called.
and waiting for the game, or
That's
you
true,
don't have
that's
to
true.
remember being in the store and things like that.
Yeah.
Just think of an age of yourself smaller than now.
That's
That's very specific.
okay.
And then, are you imagining it in your mind's eye?
Yep.
Audience, you can play along too. Think of that small you and what that small you was playing that made you very excited. And then think about that,
That
for a
wasn't
moment.
an old game.
That wasn't like your Atari. A
Yeah.
different game. A game that other kids were also playing. Think of that and then savor it for a moment. And then think about now. And then be like, wow, nostalgia.
Wow, nostalgia. Well, I guess, so games that I would have been getting new games for would have been, like, on my handheld. Because even though I did have the Atari, I had a Game Boy.
Party.
And then a Game Boy Advance, and then an Advance SP. So, like, you know, I was following along with, like, games that were coming out for that. So I think a big one for me was the Jurassic Park 3.
Jurassic Park 3, the video game.
And,
I love
and Harry Potter, Prisoner of Azkaban.
Oh man, way to blow my thunder. That was my main thing that I was going to talk about
But
today.
this is on Game Boy Advance.
Uh-huh.
So, like, those
I can
were...
talk about it on 2 other platforms. Are you ready?
Yeah, so, like, those really stick out as far as games that I was, like, anticipating. Because it's like the movie came out and it's like, there's going to be a game. I'm like, I want it.
Yeah, that's what I
want
think.
it for my PlayStation. Or, not my PlayStation. I didn't have a
Game
PlayStation.
Boy.
I want it for my Game Boy. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's like totally valid. As a kid, I was more like wrapped up in books and movies that I was like really excited for. So like, I was mostly a book kid. I'd read a lot of books, and I'd find out there's a movie coming out about this book. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm gonna be there.
Right.
And then I watch the movie, and then generally goes in that order, and then movie becomes video game, and I'm like, I love the first two media of this. I want the third.
Right.
So like, you get really influenced by especially films, TV, things like that as a kid. So it's normal to be hyped for things based on the things that brought you the most joy from film.
Yeah, for sure. So there was definitely that. I guess when I got my PS2, which I got a PS2 the first year that it came out. So it was a brand new console, and it was a big jump for me going from an Atari to a PS2.
Yeah, it is.
So immediately I was like, whoa, whole new world.
Nice graphics.
Right? And so when I think PS2 and small Aaron in the same sentence,
yes.
The game that pops up is Chamber of Secrets.
Chamber of Secrets.
Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. I
PlayStation
played that
2.
so much. So much.
I had that one PlayStation 2 as well. Yeah. Chamber of Secrets is a good one.
I would literally just I'd beat the game, and then I would go to the part where you're at the Weasleys at the beginning, where you do
the hollow.
where you do the gnome throwing, and I would just purposely never progress past that point again, and I would just load it.
You would just try the very first level.
Try to beat my high score of throwing the gnomes, and then save it, quit, play something else. So I played through the whole game the one time, and then after that game's sole purpose to me was just when I wanted to chuck gnomes.
That sounds oddly like I had a PlayStation 2 for a little while. I had wound up selling it the first time I moved to house. But I was so gung-ho, I got this new PlayStation 2, got all my old favorite nostalgia games, or at least most of them. Had my controller, and I bought two memory cards for this PlayStation 2 so I could save my progress in all my games and feel victorious. I don't know. Both memory cards did not work.
Of course.
And I don't know why. I was just like, well, I guess I can never save then. For at least a long time. I was just like, I just bought two memory cards. I don't want to buy a third memory card right now. So I would just put in a game and play for as long as I could and say,
man.
well, that was nice, and then turn off my PlayStation 2. Which, when you're playing Kingdom Hearts,
oh man,
that entire intro is an hour.
Yeah, so you played that intro over and over and over.
Yeah, so you'd wind up playing intros over and over, but then I feel like maybe if I really did never get another memory card and I kept playing these games, I could get speedrun tactics.
Right? For the first level. That's funny.
So that sounds like Small Aaron kind of did that with his Chamber of Secrets.
Yeah, but that was by choice. It's just because I had so much fun.
You were just I sure do love tossing gnomes with the Weasleys. You don't even get to Nocturne Alley. What's wrong with you?
I played through the whole game. I beat the game, but then... yeah, it's pretty funny. Let's see. Also, I didn't get a lot of games. My parents still I was allowed to play video games. I had the video games. We had the Atari. We had the PlayStation. But there was a big influence on go outside, go play sports, go read a book.
Go shovel rocks.
Yeah, the normal stuff. And so I didn't have a large library of games. So other than the few that I got, as they came out, the handhelds, the Game Boy Advance games, and the PS2 games that I really wanted, I would get, but I didn't have a lot. So my biggest exposure to the latest game would be going to Travis's house when he bought a new game, and then watching him play.
Yeah.
And if it was a 2-player game, playing also, but it's Travis has a new game. I'm gonna walk down the street
and go check it out.
So that's more of the nostalgia of
Yeah, for
new
sure.
games, the excitement of, something new. Even if it might not have been a new game, it was new to us
Yeah,
because
that's what
he got a
matters.
new game, and so I would be like, I don't know what it is, but I want to go watch because I
Heck
don't
yeah.
pay attention, you know. Um, so I watched him play a lot of games without ever playing them myself. But I love just watching him play through these games. It
So
was
I grew
fun.
up with an older brother, and technically the consoles were like sort of his,
Uh huh.
and he was much more up to date on things like new games and games that he really, really wanted. And the only time that I know that I was like really hyped for games was the Harry Potter games, and for Prisoner of Azkaban specifically, I got it for PC and for the PlayStation 2. I was so excited. But so the video game library usually revolved around what my older brother wanted, which was very different from what I wanted. So I feel like growing up, I didn't have a lot of like I don't know, I didn't have a lot of power in what games I would be playing. I would just like have to choose from what we had.
Yeah.
There were no like games for me until I was like, hey, Harry Potter sure looks good. I sure would like the Harry Potter game just for me.
On Windows 2000 or whatever.
Windows ME, I think. But yeah, so for the PC, like little PC games that I had like Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 and Harry Potter, and then Series of Unfortunate Events, and a couple of other like just like little fun games. So the PC I knew I had sort of all for myself, and that's where I had control over what I would be playing. But usually it was like if Zach isn't playing, then I have to choose one of Zach's games, and they all suck because they all have cars on the front, and I don't want to race. Whereas the small Aaron would be like, hell yeah,
Oh yeah, I was very much into Need for Speed.
of course.
Need for Speed. When I had my first first access to a laptop, when our family had a laptop, and it was a brick, like it probably weighed more than our desktop did.
Love it. My first laptop, it was like that, but I got that in like 2010.
Oh no, this was my mom had a work laptop, and then she ended up bringing it home and stuff, and
Love
it runs Windows XP, I
fun.
think, and it's we still have it. It still works. It's back
I'm like, I
back
have
in
one
my
of my
parents'
old
house.
brick laptops.
But
My family like built computers and PCs and things,
that's
which
cool.
is why we had a proper PC in my house.
yeah, we had a desktop that was for like my parents mostly. I would play Need for Speed Hot Pursuit on that little laptop,
Fun.
and that was fun. And I remember it took everything that computer had just to run that game.
It chugged along for your Need for Speed.
Yeah,
Aw,
it did.
good little
It would get
computer.
hot like to the point where like we would like you touch it and like burn your hand. It was so
Oh
hot.
my gosh.
You know,
It's dangerous to play Need for Speed for too long.
yeah, you couldn't have it on your lap. It would hurt.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
sure.
So that was fun. And then you were just talking about, now I'm thinking about PC. Like, yeah, we had a desktop, and I wasn't really big into games on the computer. I really did like my Game Boy. I would just
You've
sit.
always been a console person.
And yeah,
We've
and-
had a whole podcast about that.
Right, console versus
How
PC.
different
I was
we are.
never much of a PC guy, but it just reminded me when you were talking about just like and other little games. I was like, oh my gosh, I just remembered, and I haven't thought about this in such a long time.
Yes.
That when I was little, I would be occasionally I'd be like at the office with my mom. She's working, and I'm just like there. And there's nobody else there. She'd be the only one there. I don't know why I'd be there with her. Just,
You're just there.
like, do you want to come with me? And I used to be like, yeah, and go with her.
Yeah.
And to keep me entertained, I would, when I got bored of like just running around and doing random stuff, there was a computer game that I would play.
Math
That
blasters.
no, I mean played that in Computer Lab, of course, and Oregon Trail, and I mean we can talk about games we played at school.
Those are a
know.
different kind of nostalgia.
Yeah, played Oregon Trail on Windows 98.
Anyway, sorry.
But this game was it was a video game that came out of a Captain Crunch cereal box. And so for whatever reason,
Was it Captain Crunch themed, or was it a totally different
oh
thing?
no, it was a Captain
Captain
Crunch
Crunch?
video game. And you played like this little monster that like it eats Captain Crunch and just gets bigger and bigger and has like
So you keep feeding it Captain Crunch and it
just-
grows, it
uh-huh,
evolves.
and you can choose to have like green hair or purple hair and stuff. But there,
What's the game though?
so there was different like mini
That's so
games. There's
good.
like a bunch of mini games, and you play as these little creatures. And after like each round, you
Little
have
crunch
to
monsters.
yeah, and you have to feed them Captain Crunch, and you
Crunch
could
and Munch and
choose
monsters.
you could choose like to feed them like Crunch berries or like peanut butter crunch or like
I would give mine peanut butter crunch all day.
Right.
It's the best.
But it was the only game that my mom had at her
I
office.
love that
so
so
whenever
much.
I was there, I was like, I want to play on the computer. And she's like, well, you know what we have? Like, put the disc in. And it was a disc that was in the cereal box.
Oh my gosh, I remember that was
It was
thing.
it was like, the monster's riding a skateboard and you hit the space bar to jump over objects. Like, that's all
Like
you
little
do.
mini
But you
games.
have to time it right. Or like... you're like in the land of the dinosaurs and the pteranodons are like the pterodactyls are like dropping like flaming rocks and you have to just
Of
like
course.
dodge them,
Aw.
like it was just a bunch of weird little mini games, but I must have spent hours
Playing your Captain Crunch.
leveling up my little
See,
monster.
that counts as nostalgia.
Yeah. Yeah, sitting in my mom's office. And that's when her office was in like it was weird. It was a like creamery from the 1800s that had been
That is
converted
rad.
into right.
Oh my gosh.
But for some reason, the County Office of Education owned that building, and so for a while, her office was in the bar. It was a creamery and a bar.
Oh my gosh.
And so, like,
how did that ever close?
we would sit at the bar stools and stuff, and I'd play this game while she's like writing her, her
doing
lesson
her-
plans
doing
and
her
stuff.
job.
Yeah, in this old
That's
converted
funny.
bar.
Oh my gosh.
It was a bummer when they moved her office. Well, to
a
me, it
time.
was a bummer. I'm sure she enjoyed being moved to like an actual office,
You
but
had to drag your Captain Crunch somewhere else.
right? Yeah. At that point, I don't know what happened to the game when she moved, but when her office was in that old creamery and bar by the railroad tracks, I used to run out onto the back porch and watch every train that went by. I spent I'm realizing how much time I spent in that building. Why was I there so much? Anyways, moving on.
You're getting like weird nostalgia now. You're like, it starts out like, oh, I remember that fun little thing. Oh, that was a little bit weird. Wait, what? Reflecting on your childhood. It's like, maybe we should stop thinking on the.
Right? Let's just stick with the video games.
But, to sort of return to me being like, I didn't have a lot of choice over what I played, that did change when I got a handheld console.
Yeah.
I got me my Game Boy, and it was great. But even then, I kind
And
of still
advanced?
didn't. Game Boy Advance, yeah.
Yeah.
I had a Game Boy Color first, or my brother did, and I got to play Pokemon on it sometimes. But I say I had it because this is my childhood we're
Right.
talking about. But I had a Game Boy Advance for myself.
Such a good handheld.
I love it, and I'm so sad that we got rid of it when we got older.
I know.
What idiots we were in high school.
Right. I still have my SP. Well,
know.
I traded in my Game Boy Advance for credit towards an SP because I had to buy it with my own money. So
All right.
yeah, had to do what I had to do.
You've been gonna make those hard life choices. You've been playing too much Red Dead. But anyway, even when I got my own, like, this is mine, this is my Game Boy, Game Girl, mine, I still kind of didn't get to choose which games I played, because it would generally be, my dad would just come home from work and be like, I stopped at the video game store and got you this. And whatever it was, I would play it. Like, I'd be like, it's a new video game. And so I would be so hyped for it. But it wasn't because I was, like, waiting for this game to come out, or that I even knew that this game existed. It was just a new game.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, thank you, Father, for bringing home this magical random gift.
Yeah, my
Because
mom.
usually I think he went into GameStop and was like, what do 10-year-old girls like to play? Which is how I got a Hamtaro game, which is I still have, and it's amazing. I play it on my old DS now.
Nice. Yeah, my mom would do that too. A lot of the games that I ended up with for the PS2 the ones that she came home with. Still have them over on the shelf there. Some
There
of them.
they are.
That Scooby-Doo game, Night of 100 Frights, actually a really good game.
Yeah, I'm sure. It seems very point-and-click adventure-y, which I would be way into as a kid.
It's not even point-and-click. It is like full-on, we'll have to play it sometime. It's like full 3D animation, like... Yeah, it's actually pretty advanced for how old it is.
I can dig it.
And it's like, you play as Scooby the whole time, and you get different equipment that like lets you do like different things, and like there's a lampshade that lets you hide from the monsters.
Gosh, that's neat.
You can get like boots with springs to do double jump and stuff.
That's cool.
And so yeah, you're all going through this, manor and stuff and trying to solve, all the mystery gangs all been kidnapped, and you're trying to one by one get them back. And it's actually really fun.
Party.
But it was one of those things where she came home from like Walmart and was like, look,
here you go.
You have a PS2. This game's a PS2 game. You like Scooby-Doo. I like Scooby-Doo. This game's Scooby-Doo. Like, here you go. And I'm like, that's great.
When parents do that. Like, I feel like some kids would be like, what? I wanted Halo. But like, as a kid, I was like, thank you.
Yeah, I was honestly just so
amazing.
excited to have
like,
gotten
it could have been
game.
like the worst shovelware game, and I'm like, I love this. I have a video game.
Right.
Like, it was just so pure and in love with games back then.
I gotta say,
I got Sims Herbs. It was pretty great. That was more point and click adventure than any other Sims game ever made.
One that I specifically was hyped for and waiting for the release of was Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Star Wars Battlefront 2.
And that is still my absolute favorite PlayStation 2 game.
That was such a good game.
We
had it as like a demo growing up.
Yeah.
And I played that demo disc a million billion times until we finally did get that game.
I played the demo at Sears. I'm trying to remember when
I loved that demo.
Did you move?
That's what I remember instead of the game is the demo.
Did you move into Hanford before or after the Sears was at the mall?
I did not pay attention to the state of the mall when I moved.
Well, because my dad was a hardware guy, we went to Sears a lot, so I knew it was a big deal when Sears moved. Good old Hanford. The Fast Bank downtown, that huge 2-story building, that entire building was Sears.
Oh, really?
Back in the day. Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the, until the early 2000s. And so downstairs was all of the, yard equipment and, hardware stuff. And then upstairs was, the home stuff. So, appliances, clothing, and video games. Mm-hmm. And they had a demo zone that had an N64 and they had a PS1. Mm-hmm. And I remember playing the demo for Battlefront 1, the first one. Uh-huh. And I also played a lot of Donkey Kong. So while my dad was downstairs, buying, tools and stuff for his yard business, I would go upstairs and play Donkey Kong and stuff on the Sears, the demo that they had.
Yeah.
So yeah, that, it was how I was introduced to Battlefront 1. And I think Travis and Adam had Battlefront 1. I can't remember. Travis, did you have Battlefront 1?
Comment below.
I don't know. You had a old Star Wars game.
We can text him after this.
Right. But so Battlefront 2 coming out was whew, big deal. Big hype.
Big hype. Now, my little follow-up question, too. I gave you the prompt of, think of games that make you nostalgic. Think of games from small times. Do you think that if you played these games now, you would still enjoy them as much?
Okay,
or, which games would you be like, oh, yeah, this is still fun, and which games do you think would be ruined if you played them now?
I still play Battlefront 2 from time to time. Still enjoy it.
It's because I played it again a couple of years ago, I think.
Yeah.
So, that one's so good.
So that one's really held up. It's been a few years since I played Scooby-Doo, but I played it a couple times when I was in college and showed some friends and, actually progressed a little bit further. That was fun. But, oh man, I'm trying to think of something that, it's better left in the past. Man. I mean, there was always games that I just didn't like. So, like, obviously going back and trying to play those again, I probably still wouldn't like them. But something that, like, at the time was amazing would probably be those old Need for Speed games, honestly. If I went back, I'd be like, the handling is so horrible, or the car looks so blocky, or, you know, the landscape is rendering so poorly.
Yeah.
You know, if I want, like, because you're used to, like, being able to drive in, like, modern Need for Speed or, like, GTA 5, like, graphics. So going back to those, like, old car racing games where you're not really driving that fast and the courses really aren't that creative, that would probably be like, come on. Because the PS3 had some much better racing games, you know, and I really got into those with my PS3. So going back to PS2 era racing games or PlayStation 1 racing games, probably wouldn't be a fan. But a racing game that I always enjoy, and this is making a whole nother transition to when we would go to arcades.
Okay. So you get that arcade nostalgia.
Right, arcade nostalgia, going to Adventure Park, you know, in Hanford. Was the, there was like a whole series. It was the, like, Cruisin', you know, there's Cruisin' the World and Cruisin' USA and Cruisin' California.
I played Cruisin' California.
Yeah.
It's the only one I remember because there were palm trees.
Right. Well, and the Big Sur Coastline is one of the tracks, too. So those ones were fun because there was always two side by side, and you could either play racing the, like, 8 other cars on the screen, or if you and your friend put your quarters in at the same time, they paired up and you were in each other's game.
Okay.
And so those I still love. They have them in San Francisco at the Musée Mécanique. I played them there.
That's cool.
Right? So you know I'm going to play that, you know, next time we're there.
Heck yeah.
So, like, that is a racing game that is always going to be cool. I didn't even think about
arcade nostalgia.
Because, like, you've got the steering wheel and you can shift manually and, like, you know, those are... And that was something that was new at the time. Of course, you know, it's still fun to go to an arcade and play Pac-Man and play, like... But as far as talking about games, you know, we're specifically talking about nostalgia that was new at the time that we were young. You know, those games were current. And they would come out with different versions. And then there were different types of racing games where it's the same thing with the steering wheel, but it's like, it's not cruising, it's like something else. And some of them were okay. And some of them were bad. Yeah. And then there was always the, you know, the, what was it? The one that we talked about,
we talked about
House of the Dead.
House of the Dead.
Yeah,
House of the Living Dead.
House of the Living Dead. Yeah.
No, that's Night of the Living Dead. I'm getting them mixed up.
Yeah.
House of the Dead is my ultimate nostalgia game for arcades because I would play that every time I would go into any arcade that had it.
And there was
That's
always
the
like
game that I'm like
1, 2,
to.
3, 4. Like there was always like another numeral on them as they came out. You know, same game.
I think I would usually play 2, and then recently I went to a Dave and Buster's and I played 3, and it just made my heart so happy.
Yeah.
But like, no matter what arcade if they have one of those, that's what I'm drawn to immediately. That, Skee-Ball, and Space Invaders. I know Skee-Ball's not a video game. Don't come after me. But Skee-Ball was a game.
It's also been around a while, but yeah, love Skee-Ball.
I'm just saying, like, we're talking arcade nostalgia. It doesn't have to be a new arcade game.
No, yeah.
But yeah, House of the Dead was my jam. And that, like, one Star Wars pod racer.
Yeah.
That was also my jam.
Yeah. Yeah, for episode 1.
Yeah.
When that came out.
Now that's what I call pod racing.
Yeah. So those games definitely had more of an impact because my family would go to the arcade. There was the arcade, it was Aladdin's arcade in the mall, and then there was, I think that's what it was called for some reason.
There you go,
and then,
why not?
And then there was, you know, Adventure Park. And so I did play a lot of those video games.
Okay.
With the tokens or quarters, depending on where you were at. So there's a lot of nostalgia around that. And always being excited when you go and they have a machine that wasn't there the last time you were there. And you're like, we're going there first. Got to see what this game is. Yeah. So that was.
So you talked about how you played the Cruisin' game the last time you were at Museum Mécanique.
Yeah.
So you would say that one definitely holds up.
Yeah, in my opinion, yeah. Obviously, the
It's got the more
graphics are
fun
horrendous,
controls,
but exactly, it's because you're sitting in the chair and you're using
you
the
can
steering wheel
shift.
and you have a pedal and you
Yeah,
can,
that's true.
you know, so
There's something great about pressing down on this like little plastic pedal
and the screen's
to like
big.
floor it. Yeah,
You
it's
know,
right in front of your
course,
face.
you know, the screen's not as big as TVs that we play on now, but when you're playing a racing game on a laptop or your old tube TV with your PlayStation or playing Pole Position on the Atari, which was the racing game that I played for the first, like, decade of my life.
Pole position. You sound very angry about it. Are you alright?
No, I'm not angry. I'm just talking about, like, emphasizing the contrast
I know.
of these games.
I mean, there's a big...
To
we already discussed, there's a big leap from
Yeah.
Atari to anything.
To go to the arcade and then sit where the screen is, like, twice the size of any TV you've ever, like, played a game on.
Yep,
Who cares what it looks like?
basically.
That's what just, yeah, it's the experience, not the graphics.
Amazing.
So that one definitely holds up for sure.
For sure. For all of my nostalgia games, I already know whether or not they hold up because I am a person who will, like, dive back into their past, especially media of their past. I love, like, remembering a movie that I loved as a kid and being like, I need to watch that now. Like, anytime I just remember some media that I loved as a child, I need to, like, experience it again to just have all those memories flood back while I watch it.
Right.
And I, like, for that reason, my childhood PlayStation 2, my brother sold so he could get the Xbox, and then I sort of stopped playing console. And, as a person in community college, I went to GameStop and I bought another PlayStation 2, and I bought all my old games, like I said, because I was just like, I've got that itch, I want to play my old games. And, I still have, like I said, like, the old Hamtaro game that my dad just randomly came home with, and so
Yeah.
I'll just pop that into my DS sometimes and be like, you know what? I just want to be carefree for a moment. I remember the whimsy of being a baby. Aaron! Hold on. Aaron found his Captain Crunch cereal game on Amazon.
Captain Crunch's Crunch
Used
and Adventure.
one from $39.99 up. You want to buy it?
Amazing, right?
Oh my gosh, that's so good.
So that's what it was called.
Oh my gosh. It came in like a little jewel case.
Yep. Yeah.
There's the front and back. I miss that about PC games, when they would just come in a little jewel case and they had like a little manual that was also the front
Right.
cover. I loved that.
All new AOL version 5.0.
Yeah! Who else remembers AOL? Who else remembers the dial-up noise? Because I do. I act like that makes me so old.
Here we go. System requirements: a Pentium 90 core or greater, Windows 95 or 98, 16 megabytes of RAM, 30 megabytes preferred, 20 megabytes free on the hard drive space.
No way. Impossible.
Attention Macintosh users. Sorry, the Captain Crunch and Adventure is only for Windows 95,
Sucks
98.
to you, Mac
But don't
kids.
throw away the CD just yet. Put it in your Mac and you can still raise a crunchling of your very own. That's what they were called, crunchlings, the little monsters.
Oh my god.
So you
Aaron,
couldn't play the games, but you could still... That's what they looked like.
You could still just feed it peanut butter crunch all the time. Oh my god, they look like little gremlins.
Yeah. And you fed...
They have just giant eyeballs and ponytails. You get to pick your color. Wait, go back to that side. That one's my favorite. He's fucking lounging. He's got those eyes that's like, I know something you don't know.
Yeah. It was...
Please don't put this video on YouTube.
Come on.
Can we wait till after the podcast?
Yeah, of course we can wait until after the podcast.
But we won't.
No, it's okay. Let's keep talking.
I feel like we've talked like a good amount. Though.
Yeah.
Like I just wanted
we hit
to.
the highlights.
I just wanted to have some nice nostalgia thoughts. Remember our childhood because I
Right.
love doing that.
Right.
That's why I still play. Like a lot of the indie games that I play are like old pixely video games. Stardew Valley for yo.
Do you know the game of the year from the year you were born?
Hell no.
Yeah, me
Should
neither.
we Google it?
That'd be
You have
interesting.
your phone.
Why not? Yeah.
Hold
Here, talk about something else while I Google this.
on.
Fill the air.
All right, I'll fill dead space. All right, everybody. Natalie Wood was an actress. You shut your mouth. You told me to fill air. Natalie Wood was an actress in I think, the late 40s as a child through the 50s and into the 60s. She's been in a lot of movies, some hit musicals like West Side Story and Gypsy are two of them. Her death is a mystery, and I need us all to solve it together, but in fact, I've already solved it. You're welcome. I just need you to be on my side. Natalie Wood was told as a young girl that she would die in dark water by a gypsy woman that I think her mother took her to, and her mother said, now you have to always be afraid of water and not go near water because clearly you're going to drown because this old gypsy woman said so. I think gypsy is offensive. No, I shouldn't say that. An old traveler woman, a tarot reader, told her that she was going to die in dark water. And so, all of her life, she was terrified and even almost drowned on the film set of some movie. I think it had the word green in it. I'm doing great at filling time, Aaron. Are you doing all right?
Oh, yeah, I found the answer. I'm just listening at this point. Keep going.
Always afraid of water. Couldn't swim. Stayed clear of water. One day, she, her husband, Robert Wagner, and Christopher Walken got on a boat. I have to stop.
And she did not get off the boat.
She did get off the boat, but in the dead way.
Yeah. And the mystery is, which of the two men killed her?
Because there was obviously foul play, and she wouldn't have gotten in the water of her own volition. They're like, oh, she was trying to get in the dinghy, but like the night before, she was like, yo, Captain. Yeah, she's like, yo, Captain, let's get in the dinghy together because I don't want to die. And you think that she would do that the second night. But no. She mysteriously wound up face down in the water all bruised and dead, like. And everyone's like, it must have been an accident because no way Robert Wagner from Heart to Heart or Christopher Walken from everything Christopher Walken's ever been in
could have possibly
killed someone as beautiful and wonderful as Natalie Wood. And if you look into it, all evidence points to the husband. Don't believe it. It's Christopher Walken. He's still alive. If you see him in public, confront him and say, why did you kill Natalie Wood? Thank you. What's the video game from
Well, from the year I was born, Street Fighter 2.
Street Fighter 2. What about me?
What are you, 94?
Yeah.
Donkey Kong Country.
Hell yeah!
It's a good one.
Oh my god, yeah.
So...
That's rad.
Yeah, so Street Fighter 2 for 1992.
I want to be born in 1991. It's Sonic the Hedgehog,
right? Then Travis
GoldenEye.
Yeah, GoldenEye's 97.
Jesus.
Well, see, Travis is 93. Samurai Showdown, but spelled show like Shogun.
Oh, love it.
Twisted Metal. I remember those games.
Man, I wish I was born in GoldenEye.
That was 1995.
Ocarina of Time. Is that
96
Soul Calibur?
Yep.
For
99.
Soul Calibur for 99.
Here's Megan, 98. Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
That's a good year. That's a fine vintage.
Tony Hawk. Oh, man.
Pro Skater 2.
I forgot. I used to...
for 2000.
So
I played those too.
I never owned Tony Hawk games, but my cousins loved Tony Hawk. So whenever I'd visit my cousins, that's what we would play, was Tony Hawk. Just like any and all of them. Every time I went, they had the latest Tony Hawk game. Mm-hmm. And I'd be like, I mean, yeah, I don't skateboard in real life, and I don't really like the game, but, like, you're my cousins, and I want to have fun, so let's play Tony Hawk.
Fair enough. My brother had Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, and I would get to play it sometimes, and I remember specifically you could unlock where you could be Spider-Man and you could grind around Philadelphia, and it's pretty great. But that's all I remember about it, is that you had to you could unlock Spider-Man. And I was not into skateboarding. I did not care for skateboarding. I was not a coordinated child. Why would I want to skateboard in real life?
Right.
So video games brought me that joy. Video games brought me skateboarding as Spider-Man, and I think that's made me who I am today.
And Hamtaro.
And Hamtaro has deeply affected me. Hamtaro Ham Heartbreak should have been the game of the year, but probably wasn't. Peyton and I both loved Hamtaro Ham Heartbreak as children. Peyton and I had a lot of the same video games as children, we learned.
That's funny.
So it both affected us deeply, and it's a deeply affecting game. And on that note... Tell us your most nostalgic video games and video game memories in the comments. If you're on YouTube, if you're on iTunes, then, find us, talk to us.
Find us.
Speak to your headphones.
Right.
Whisper a little secret into whatever device you're listening to this on.
I think you can leave a review.
All right, that's it.
Leave your answer in
I
a
would
review.
rather they whisper a little secret, Aaron. I want them to lean to their phone screen and whisper, him Heartbreak was amazing. And I'll know. I'll sense it. I'm so tired. This has been such a weird episode for me.
It's okay. It's late. It's 10:30.
It's so not late.
But
I'm
our
just
bodies
tired.
think it's 11:30 because the time change.
Right, like 10:30
Also,
is late.
11:30 is not late for us.
It's
most of these
We're
podcasts.
gonna play poker and Red Dead for like another 2 hours.
Right. Most of these podcasts are recorded after midnight.
Yeah, that's true.
Because that's when we finally have time to sit down and talk.
It's the first time I sit all day sometimes.
But it was just a long weekend for both of us. Many hours of work.
Leave a comment, leave a review, whisper a little secret. I'm gonna start
All that
ending
good
every
stuff.
podcast with like, whisper a little secret. Also, if you have any ideas for topics you want us to talk about.
Because
Scream
clearly
it,
this
I
one
mean.
was scraping the bottom.
Oh, excuse you, because this is my
I'm
chosen topic.
teasing. I'm teasing. But yeah, if there is a topic that you would like to hear us discuss in the world of, well, really anything. We'll talk about anything.
In the world.
Yeah, in the world.
Or the universe.
Or the universe.
Or other
We
universes.
could- that's true. We could
I'll talk
keep
about
going.
it.
Yeah. That would actually be preferable.
So do all that. Check out our other stuff if you like the dulcet tones of our voice. And
Until next time,
stay nerdy.